Hello, wonderful listeners, and welcome back to English Podcast TV. I'm your host, John, and as always, I'm thrilled to be here.
And hi, everyone. This is Jenny, back again, and maybe just a tiny bit more nervous than usual today.
Nervous? Jenny, you're usually the most confident person I know. What's got you all flustered? Spill the beans.
Okay, you got me. Today, we're not just talking about English, we're talking about my real life experience using English. Specifically, my very first day at my new office job. And let's just say it was a roller coaster.
A roller coaster, huh? Intriguing. I remember my first day at a new job. Let's just say it involved a rogue coffee machine and a very awkward introduction to the CEO. But I'm sure yours was much more civilized.
Oh, I wouldn't be so sure. Let's just say it had its moments. But first, for those of you joining us for the first time, the idea here is to not only tell a story, but to unpack all the language tools I used that day, plus look at the cultural stuff you should know about the workplace.
Exactly. So, Jenny, take us back. What were you feeling the night before? The anticipation must have been killer.
Oh, John, you have no idea. Excitement was definitely there. I mean, getting this job was a huge deal for me. I'd been studying English so hard, practicing my interview skills, and finally it paid off. But underneath that excitement was a thick layer of pure, unadulterated anxiety.
Anxiety, the unwelcome guest at every exciting event. What were you worried about?
Everything. I kept thinking, what if my English isn't good enough? What if I misunderstand something important? What if I make a terrible first impression? What if people don't like me? You know, the usual suspects. It felt like all my insecurities, all the small voices of self-doubt I usually manage to keep quiet, were having a party in my head.
I think everyone can relate to that. The fear of the unknown is a powerful thing. So, how did you try to calm those nerves?
Preparation was my weapon of choice. I researched the company culture as much as possible online. I rehearsed my elevator pitch, a quick, concise introduction about myself. I even planned my outfit down to the smallest detail. Power dressing was definitely on the agenda.
Smart move. Dress for the job you want, as they say. Did you practice any specific English phrases or conversations leading up to the big day?
Absolutely. I focused on phrases for introducing myself, asking for clarification, and participating in basic office small talk. I knew "how's your weekend" was practically mandatory. I even looked up common business idioms to try and fit in.
Impressive. You went full on immersion mode. All right, so you're prepped, you're dressed, you're armed with killer English skills. It's morning. Walk us through those first few moments.
Okay, so picture this. I woke up way before my alarm, heart pounding. I double-checked my outfit, grabbed my meticulously packed lunch, and headed out the door. The commute felt like an eternity. Every red light felt like a personal attack.
I can imagine. So you finally arrive. What's the building like? Give us the sensory details.
The building was imposing. All glass and steel, very modern. It smelled faintly of expensive coffee and new carpets. Stepping into the lobby felt like entering a different world. The receptionist was behind a sleek desk, radiating efficiency. I felt so small and insignificant.
Did your meticulously practiced English kick in at the reception? Or did the nerves short-circuit everything?
It almost short-circuited. I managed a shaky, "Good morning, I'm Jenny Hayes. I'm here for my first day." Thankfully, she was very friendly. She gave me a visitor badge and directed me to the elevators. And that's when the real anxiety kicked in.
The elevator ride. A crucial moment. Tell me everything. What were you thinking?
The elevator felt like a tiny metal box of judgment. I was acutely aware of every move I made. I tried to stand up straight, avoid eye contact, and not look like a complete newbie. Inside, I was replaying all the possible worst-case scenarios. I was thinking, okay, Jenny, first impressions matter. Put your best foot forward.
Put your best foot forward. Excellent phrase. Let's pause right there for our first fluency booster. Okay, listeners, to put your best foot forward means to make a good first impression, to try your hardest, to present yourself in the best possible light. Jenny, you used it perfectly. How did you learn that one?
I think I picked it up from watching American sitcoms, actually. It's used a lot in situations where someone is trying to impress someone else, like a job interview or a first date. You could say he really put his best foot forward at the meeting by presenting a well-researched proposal.
Precisely. And what's a good way not to put your best foot forward, Jenny?
Showing up late, forgetting someone's name, spilling coffee on your boss, the usual disasters.
Exactly. Okay, back to the story. So you're stepping out of the elevator. What happens next?
I was met by Sarah from HR, who was incredibly welcoming. She gave me a quick tour of the office, pointing out the kitchen, the restrooms, and the dreaded open plan workspace. It was buzzing with activity, people typing furiously, talking on the phone, and generally looking very busy and important.
The open plan office. A blessing for collaboration, a curse for introverts. What was your initial impression of the office vibe?
It felt intense. Everyone seemed so focused, so efficient. I immediately felt like I was way behind. Sarah introduced me to my team members, and that's when I realized the art of office small talk was going to be crucial.
Office small talk, an essential survival skill. Any memorable small talk moments from that first introduction?
Oh, plenty. There was the obligatory comment on the weather. Can you believe this rain? The awkward question about my weekend plans, which of course had been spent prepping for this job, and the inevitable discussion about the office coffee machine. I remember thinking, this is it. This is where I sink or swim.
Sink or swim. Perfect segue for another fluency booster. Okay, listeners, to sink or swim means to succeed or fail, especially when you're thrown into a challenging situation without much support. Jenny, you clearly chose to swim. Give us another example of how to use this idiom.
Sure. You could say, the company decided to close the customer service department, and it was sink or swim for the employees.
Great example. And what would have to happen in order for someone to sink?
Well, it depends on the situation, but basically, failing to pick up on the necessary skills to get through a tough situation.
Exactly. Okay, so you successfully navigated the treacherous waters of office small talk. What was the next big hurdle?
Meeting my boss, Mr. Davies. He was intimidating. Very formal, very direct. He asked me a lot of questions about my experience and my goals. I was trying so hard to sound confident and competent, but inside I felt like a fraud.
The dreaded imposter syndrome. Did you feel like you had to fake it till you make it a little bit?
Absolutely. Fake it till you make it was my mantra for the entire morning. I kept telling myself, even if you don't know what you're doing, pretend you do. It's very tiring, but it kind of worked in the moment.
Fake it till you make it is a classic. Fluency booster time. Jenny, explain this one to our listeners.
Okay, so fake it till you make it means to act confident and competent, even when you don't feel that way, with the hope that eventually you will actually become confident and competent. It's about projecting an image of success, even if you're still learning.
It's a survival tactic, really. Example?
Imagine someone starting a new business. They might not have all the answers at first, but they fake it till they make it by projecting confidence to their clients and investors.
Perfect. All right, so you're faking it like a pro. What happened after the meeting with Mr. Davies?
I was shown to my desk, which was surprisingly cluttered. Turns out, the person who had the job previously left very suddenly, and they didn't have time to clear out his personal things. I was basically thrown in the deep end and told to start working on a project immediately, which I knew almost nothing about.
Thrown in the deep end. Another great idiom. Before we unpack that, what was your first project about?
It was a marketing campaign. I'd only ever studied business marketing in school. I am not an experienced marketer.
Okay, time for our fluency booster. Thrown in the deep end. Jenny, what does it mean to be thrown in the deep end?
It means to be given a difficult task. For example, I would say I felt like I was thrown in the deep end when I was asked to present a complex marketing report to the board of directors on my second week at work.
Exactly. Okay, you are at your desk. You are thrown into the deep end. What did you do?
Well, I knew I was probably going to sink if I tried to tough it out alone, so I asked my colleagues for help. I told them I was new and I just wanted to learn the ropes.
Nicely done. Can you tell us about what it's like trying to make friends with your colleagues?
I would say that it's tough. You have to try to break the ice and make conversation. You have to be friendly, helpful, and respectful. And it also depends on what the attitude of your particular workplace is. At my first job, it was a pretty friendly and fun place.
Okay, fluency booster time. Jenny, what does it mean to break the ice?
It means to make people feel more comfortable in a social situation. For example, you could play a game at the start of a class to break the ice.
Exactly. Okay, you have managed to survive the first day at work due to your willingness to ask for help. Now what?
Luckily, there were a few kind souls who were willing to help me out. They explained the project to me, showed me where to find the necessary information, and answered my endless questions. I was so grateful.
And that's it. How do you feel now, looking back to it?
I am proud of myself for being able to get through the day, even though I was so stressed out.
Wonderful. Okay, that's all the time we have for today.
Bye! See you next time.